These islands we call home have a rich and varied history stretching back thousands of years. But hidden under the ground and underwater are some amazing treasures just waiting to be found.
Wow!
So each year, all across the country, archaeologists dig, dive, and explore their way down.
Oh, this is brilliant.
Searching for fresh discoveries.
And it is completely intact.
Revealing traces of ancient cultures.
This shoe is 2,803 years old.
Oh, wow.
And unearthing fascinating artefacts.
Oh, that's a nice thing. What is it?
I've never seen anything quite like it in my career.
Every dig adds new pieces to the ever-growing archaeological jigsaw.
That's so cool, isn't it?
That is the epic story of our islands. This year, I visit digs in some extraordinary locations.
The ceiling just got a bit lower.
And I call on the help of a trio of expert investigators.
It's quite difficult to find any other evidence of things that just leave a mark in the archaeology.
This is a really powerful document because we're getting to hear the voices that we don't usually hear.
Who delve deeper to answer the questions raised by the finds.
Is all of this already recorded in books?
There was none of this in a book anywhere.
Finally, the archaeologists bring their most amazing discoveries into our tent.
Astonishing.
For up-close analysis.
Genuinely rewriting history. Welcome to Digging for Britain. This time, I'll be making my way around the west of the United Kingdom, looking at the region's most interesting digs.
We travel to the shores of the Severn Estuary.
Discovered a human footprint that probably dates to around 7,000 years ago.
Where archaeologists are racing against time.
It's possible next time we come back, there's nothing to see here at all.
In Gloucestershire, Stuart investigates a medieval site littered with 10,000 historic objects.
They're the best preserved ones I've seen, ever.
We've got to see what's here and then protect it for the future.
And in the Cotswolds, a mysterious burial.
We've been jumping back and forth on ideas of what it actually is for weeks now.
Is baffling the archaeologists.
It's the kind of archaeology and the kind of landscape that really makes you get up in the morning.
The River Wye rises in the mountains of mid-Wales. It meanders its way south, tracing the border between Wales and England. It's here, in Monmouthshire, that our first dig takes place, on the west bank of the river, in the village of Tinton. Nestled down in the Wye Valley are the ruins of a masterpiece of Gothic architecture. This is Tinton Abbey. It was founded by Cistercian monks in the 12th century, and by the 14th century, it had grown into a magnificent medieval church. But in 1534, Henry VIII began his iconoclastic dissolution of the monasteries, and monastic life at Tinton came to an end during the Tudor period.
This is the extremely beautiful Tinton Abbey, and its whole setting is gorgeous, sitting here in the wooded Wye Valley. And then the ruin of this medieval church is just stunning. It's not surprising it became an icon of the Romantic movement in the 19th century, inspiring painters like Turner, who was always in search of the sublime, and poets like William Wordsworth.
For centuries, visitors have travelled to marvel at this iconic landmark. But today, it's in desperate need of restoration.
It's got to the point where it's actually dangerous, and so conservation work has to happen. There's a 5-year project underway now to consolidate these ruins, and as part of that, archaeologists are getting an opportunity, a really precious opportunity, to excavate and look at what lies beneath.
Hidden under once ornate floors and in the burial grounds around Tinton Abbey, the team are revealing evidence of how its sacred era came to an end. But they're also discovering evidence of covert religious activity after its surrender to the Crown. Richard Lewis from Black Mountains Archaeology
Richard.
Hi, Alice.
Hello.
is one of the project leads.
So this is a huge conservation project.
It's a 5-year project to stabilise the masonry, which has suffered over the past nearly 900 years. To enable the conservation specialists, the stonemasons, the building archaeologists to get up to these upper levels, they need to put scaffolding up. So our job is to actually look to see what effect that could have on any potential buried archaeology. We're learning a great deal from these investigations.
Show me what you found so far.
Some of what happened at Tinton Abbey in the aftermath of the dissolution is evident above ground.
So tell me what happened at the moment of the dissolution then. The monks are disbanded.
Most of the monks pensioned off, and then the lands were gifted or given or bought by the Marquis of Worcester. And he came in and he asset stripped it, essentially. So they stripped the roof out, they stripped the lead off the roof as well to sell it, and the windows as well.
Preparation for the conservation work is, for the first time, allowing archaeologists to investigate beneath the floor of the abbey.
This is our most exciting discovery to date.
Oh, they are beautiful. Are they medieval?
They are definitely medieval, so they're 13th, 14th century tiles, but they may not be in their original location. So they may have been relaid as a floor.
Okay.
Maybe a few hundred years later. There are no surviving floors at Tinton Abbey, so irrespective of what date this is, it's really, really, really significant.
They've got some gorgeous designs here. I can see a bit of a fleur-de-lis there. And is this a little lion?
Yeah, a rampant lion.
See his claws there. And what about this one over here? That's
that's the one that's most known at Tinton Abbey, is sort of floriated design.
When we're looking at these beautiful patterned tiles, these encaustic tiles, we're only looking at fragments.
We are. They stripped a lot of tiles out of Tinton Abbey.
So if he's selling off nice complete ones...
Yeah.
And the ones that are fragmentary stay here...
Yeah.
So back in the, say, the 12th, 13th century, would the entire floor have been covered in beautiful tiles like this?
Yes, this whole area would have had a huge mosaic of tiled floor. It would have looked absolutely amazing. It would have been really, really special.
Yeah. And we're just seeing a little glimpse of that here.
Archaeologist Ross Cook from Archaeodomus has another find that helps us imagine how Tinton Abbey once looked.
One of the most exciting discoveries that we've been having on site here is this. And now this is window glass.
Oh, wow, it is lovely.
From stained glass windows. Within this church, there's not just the church itself and the beauty of the architecture, there would have been a soundscape and a lightscape, which all of this would have helped create inside.
They're beautiful objects in their own right, these tiny fragments of glass.
Yeah.
The team are also digging outside the Abbey. Here they're uncovering the remains of those who would have known Tinton Abbey in all its glory. And they've captured their discoveries on our Dig Diary camera.
We have got two sets of human remains here. This one down here was probably buried first, and this one was buried on top of it.
So far, they've found 24 burials, dating to the medieval period when Tinton Abbey was an active cemetery. They are carefully exhuming some of the bones to allow the conservation work to go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Nice.
Burials in the churchyard are expected, but they've discovered two very strange graves. The first, discovered near the south entrance of the Abbey, is an adult skeleton in a tightly crouched position. Unlike the other burials, the grave is shallow and ill-fitting. The second mysterious burial was discovered at the east end of the Abbey in an area reserved for high-status individuals. Here, the archaeologists discovered a double burial containing two small children. Osteoarchaeologists Ciara O'Brien-Butler and Richard Madrick from Cardiff University are examining these mysterious burials. As an anatomist, I'm intrigued to hear their initial assessments.
Richard, this was the individual that was buried in that slightly odd-looking crouched position.
That's right. So this individual was in really quite a tightly crouched position in quite an irregular grave. Our initial assessment, we've got a female individual.
Right, OK. And what about age, then?
Age was problematic for this individual. We would normally use the teeth. The longer you've been chewing, the more worn down your teeth will be.
Yeah.
But they don't align very nicely, these teeth. This is the nasal cavity here, so the nose, and the teeth are projecting straight out.
Oh, my goodness. It's facing straight out. And what do we think this is?
We think it's going to be a congenital disorder, so we think this would have affected the individual from an early age.
Because if you just look at these molars, this looks like quite a young individual, perhaps in their 20s even. But then, as you say, if those teeth weren't grinding against each other, then she could be a lot older than that.
That's exactly what we're thinking. I think 30s to 40s is probably more likely.
Yeah. Anything else about her skeleton which is standing out at this point?
So we have fusion of two cervical vertebrae here. So this is the fifth and sixth cervical vertebrae are completely fused.
Yeah, so spina bifida, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So possible impacts on mobility in terms of maybe breathing or moving.
And do you have any idea about the date of this burial?
Evidence suggests it's after the dissolution, so the cut cuts through some post-medieval material, so we think it's later.
So that's really interesting. Do you think there are any links between that pathology and how she ended up being buried in that unusual grave, in a burial ground that's no longer a burial ground?
Perhaps someone who lived a difficult life with some mobility issues and some facial disfigurement, perhaps, was laid to rest by their family in somewhere that was considered very important.
And then you've got two much smaller skeletons there.
So we have a 5 to 7-year-old here, and we can see the first of the permanent teeth start to erupt there. And then we have an infant on this end. So not all of the deciduous or milk teeth are even erupted yet, so it's around 2 years old. We do have some indications of chronic ill health in both individuals.
Okay. What have you got?
We have in this individual porosity of the eye socket there, related to nutritional stress or general ill health.
Yeah, I can see that pitting.
Yeah. And we also have, with this young child, some inflammation of the soft tissue within the skull.
So potential indicators of general ill health.
Yes.
The team here also believe that these children were buried after the dissolution.
Well, these children were found at the eastern end of the church, outside. So when this monastery was in use, that would have been a very high status area. So we wouldn't have found children there.
So what do we think is going on here then? Because the burial ground was no longer officially in use, and yet you've got these post-medieval burials.
Well, this was still considered a special place by some, and I think family members were going to, in some instances, great lengths to bury their loved ones in this special place.
And returning to this place for burial of individuals with very obvious pathological conditions. And it's interesting that the burials we have here are unusual in context and in the skeletal remains as well.
I think when you come and look at Tinton Abbey today, it seems as though it is frozen in time, that it's stuck in this moment, which is the dissolution, the time when it lost its roof, when it was plundered for resources. And it's almost as though nothing's happened here since then. And what the archaeology is showing is that people continued to see it as a sacred space in the centuries after the monks left here, that they still came back and buried their dead right next to the church.
From Tinton, the River Wye continues its journey south, meeting the River Severn, which widens into the Bristol Channel before it meets the Atlantic Ocean.
Most archaeology takes place on dry land. Some happens underwater. And then there are a few investigations which take place between high and low tide. This liminal intertidal zone can be a very challenging environment for archaeologists to work in, but it can yield up astonishing discoveries.
Our next dig takes us 5 miles southeast of Newport to Goldcliff on the edge of the Severn Estuary. Here, a small team of intrepid archaeologists are setting out to explore an area of the estuary bed only exposed at extreme low tides. Martin Bell from Reading University has been excavating here for over 30 years.
It's a very challenging environment, really, to do archaeology. We have to get down there, identify what our target is, photograph it, plan it, lift whatever we're going to lift and get out again.
Coastal erosion and unpredictable silt and gravel movement mean exposed archaeology is never guaranteed.
It's really a matter of recording what the sea has exposed. So you just never know what you're going to find in a landscape like this.
This waterlogged landscape contains traces of prehistoric hunter-gatherers dating back to the Mesolithic period. During the Mesolithic, this landscape would have looked very different, as this computer model shows. Martin's team have discovered evidence of camps and even found footprints on the estuary bed, glimpses of the nomadic people that once moved through this landscape. In the spring of 2023, the team spotted a number of wooden stakes, which they suspected could be part of a fish trap. Today, the tide is once again low enough for them to reach the site.
Who knows whether it will still be there? It might be covered up by a great big gravel bed, or it may have been ripped out by rushing tides.
If they can successfully locate and confirm that this is indeed a Mesolithic fish trap, it will be the first of its kind to be discovered in Britain. En route to the site, Martin spots a footprint.
Just discovered a human footprint. There's the heel there, side of the foot, big toe, other toes going round there. It's I would say, probably the foot of an adult male that probably dates to around 7,000 years ago. We record all the footprints that we find because over the years we build up a whole picture of them. We've got over 350 footprints so far. This one is heading away from the island where the Mesolithic settlements were, out into the river channel. That's good, well done. Right, we're off then.
After 2 hours out searching in the estuary, Martin and his colleague Tom spot the wooden stakes of the fish trap. They have just 90 minutes to carefully and accurately record the site before it's once again submerged beneath the rising tide.
It's perfectly possible next time we come back there's nothing to see here at all. So the site of the fish trap is marked by a line which runs over about 4 metres of wooden stakes. Some of them are quite substantial, about 5 centimetres in diameter, like this one here. Others smaller, and those smaller ones we think had wattle work woven between them to create like a wattle fence. And in a V-shaped arrangement pointing upstream, the fish coming down on the retreating tide would have gone into this V and been trapped in a basket at the end, or maybe just in the V itself. There are very few sites in Britain where you've got preserved wooden artefacts from the Mesolithic. So we're going to excavate one of these so that we can radiocarbon date it and have a look at the cut marks on it. You have to be very careful. Although it looks in great condition, it's extremely soft. When you touch it with the metal tools, one would damage it really badly. But then suddenly you start seeing the tide coming in here, creeping nearer to us.
Time is of the essence.
So it's in excellent condition.
So it would have been in like that, and they've driven something down to split off the flake there.
There's that one. It's a bit buckled where they've driven it into sediment, but we've got the cut mark very clearly here. The fact that it's a cut mark shows that it's humanly worked. The condition is just amazing, really. This gives us a new insight, really, into the fishing techniques of these people. The tide is now rising very rapidly. It's just as well that we've recorded everything that was exposed.
I've invited Martin to the Digging for Britain tent to show me this rare waterlogged wooden artefact. Until it's properly preserved for display in a museum, Martin must keep the stake wet to prevent decay.
I'd like to see some of this archaeology in situ. What are we looking at there then, Martin?
So these are the wooden stakes of the Mesolithic fish trap.
And this is the one that you've recently excavated?
That's it, yes. Eels, I think, principally, which were coming down the river
Yeah.
on the retreating tide would get trapped in this V-shaped arrangement.
And when does this date to? Do we know?
About 7,000 years ago.
And what about these other finds then? Take me through these.
Well, these are heat-fractured stones that form a roughly circular area, and this is a little temporary campsite.
Yeah.
One can see that on the surface of this stone you've got many fractures, which are the result of it being heated up to considerable red hotness, as it were, and then having water thrown on it. So that was really the Mesolithic oven, actually.
Can you imagine people sitting around that,
Yes, and
eating
of
their
course
eels?
a hearth would have been a real sort of focal point in the Mesolithic world for social interaction and everything.
And we've got traces of the people themselves as well.
Some of the footpaths that we've found actually lead to the areas where we've found the wooden fish traps.
You can imagine that people have been off during the day, putting in fish traps, taking eels from fish traps, maybe going off and hunting waterfowl, and then coming back together at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the really exciting thing about this site, really, is the patterns of connectivity between different activity areas. So we've got an idea of what people were doing in the settlements, and then we've got the footprints telling us about how they were moving around the landscape.
Yeah. I love the way this site also resurrects that ecology and that environment of the past.
Yes.
It links us to nature.
Following on from the Mesolithic, the Neolithic period marked a gradual transition from the nomadic lifestyle of hunting, fishing and gathering to one of settlement and farming. Our next dig takes us to the eastern Vale of Glamorgan, just north of the Severn Estuary, to the hamlet of Fonman. Here, just outside Fonman, is a fortified medieval castle dating to the 12th century.
This is Fonman Castle. Now, it's been extended and rebuilt over the centuries, but at its heart, it is a Norman castle. But archaeologists have found something within its grounds that dates to much, much earlier.
Taking us back to the early medieval period.
It seems we have an adult but in the flexed position.
In summer 2022, a team from Cardiff University researching the landscape around the castle discovered some medieval burials.
We began by finding some pieces of the toes.
As they continued digging, they began to find evidence that this site wasn't only a place where people buried the dead.
We've been finding animal bone, charred bone, lots of charcoal, evidence of feasting perhaps, and yeah, it's a mysterious burial, but definitely an exciting one.
This year they're back to investigate this curious cemetery, which appears to be a place where the living and the dead existed side by side. Andy Seaman is leading the dig.
Hi. Hi. This looks intriguing.
Hi, welcome to Fonman.
Thank you very much. How did you even start to think that there might be something here?
We came and did some geophysics, and the geophysics brought up a series of interesting features.
Yeah.
So, including this little sub-square enclosure here,
Yeah.
and then a much larger outer enclosure.
Yeah.
Within this enclosure, we found a series of inhumation graves, east-west aligned. Sites of that period are quite rare in this part of the world.
How rare?
Very rare. The post-Roman period in the west of Britain is tricky.
And yes, it's the period that we really want to know about because we haven't got so much literature, so we really need the archaeology.
This opportunity to explore a community in such detail is really exciting.
Can we have a look at the trench then?
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Well, we'll go over here to the enclosure ditch.
The large outer enclosure would have been a very visible feature in the landscape when this cemetery was in use.
Well, this ditch that showed up so well on the geophysical survey is really obvious coming through, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It clearly cut through the bedrock.
Yeah. And it's deep?
Yeah, it's about just under a metre deep.
I presume that they're levering out those rocks, hoiking out all this material, and then piling it up to make a bank. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, that's what it seems like. It's clearly not defensive, not big enough to be defensive.
Okay.
But could well be defining the space around the cemetery.
Yeah.
Marking this out as a special place within the landscape.
And that's one of the graves over there, is it?
Yes, yeah.
You can have a look.
Andy estimates that there could be up to 80 burials in this cemetery. So far, the team have excavated 8 graves, and they've just uncovered another.
I'm looking at this pelvis, and I'm just seeing the apex of the great Atlantic notch just there. It's really tricky because there's not much of it to see, but it's looking fairly narrow, I would say. And just looking here, actually, there's that mastoid process, which is large.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at the rest of the skull as well, but from what we've got here, it's looking as though it might be male.
Yeah.
And that molar's heavily worn, so that's a useful indication of age.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting how the body's arranged here. What have the other graves been like?
We had expected that the majority would be just on their backs, which is an early medieval tradition of burial. But we've had 2 in tightly flexed positions. A proper crouched burial, which we would usually expect from prehistory.
Yeah.
And this one's on its side, with another one on its side as well.
So there doesn't seem to be a kind of standard way that everybody is buried.
Which may be to do with chronology.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's more diversity than I would have expected.
I mean, it makes you wonder about the relationship between burial practice and religion, doesn't it? You know, were they still approaching death and burial in a way that would have been familiar from a few centuries ago, or were things dramatically changing?
It's not just bones that are being discovered. Archaeology student Jamie has just made an interesting find.
Oh, wow. So we've just pulled it out of the ditch slots that we've got in here, going all the way through the trench.
What are we looking at then, Andy?
We're looking at a dish. This is the foot ring.
Yeah, so that's the base of it.
That's the base of it. There's no native tradition of making pottery in this period.
Okay.
So pottery is very, very rare.
Yeah.
And the stuff we do find is often imported. Presumably it's related to feasting activity.
What could it be telling us about the site?
I think it's telling us that it's not just funerary activity, it's not just burial.
Yeah.
There's domestic activity of some form taking place alongside the funerary activity. Potentially graveside feasting, which this material is often associated with.
So it's sort of life and death together.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, isn't it? 1,500 years ago.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, really good.
Jamie's find is adding to a body of evidence that suggests that there was feasting activity taking place amongst the burials.
Tiny bit of glass.
Wow, that is tiny.
But can you see the white trail?
Yeah, yeah.
That's very diagnostic. So that has been imported to here probably from the Bordeaux region in France in the most likely the 6th century AD.
Right, okay.
It would have been part of a cone beaker associated with a drinking wine.
Yeah. So these people have got access to luxury goods that are being imported.
And those luxury goods are being consumed and used in this funerary environment.
As well as feasting activity, they've also found signs of industry.
We've also got things like slag. So this is smithing slag. So for the manufacture of iron tools.
So you've got metalworking happening right here within the cemetery enclosure?
There is a metalworking hearth in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're right next to a grave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this happening at the same time?
The evidence we've got so far suggests it is. So we're seeing people eating, people drinking, people making tools within the same space that they're burying their dead.
It does seem unusual that you've got this metalworking hearth in the cemetery.
It's not unparalleled. Across Britain and into Ireland, in this period, we're starting to find recognised sites that have got both funerary activity and domestic activity as well. They're often described as a cemetery settlement or a multifunctional cemetery.
What we've got is this association between death and life in some way. that we don't fully understand.
Yep.
It's a reminder, isn't it, to us not to, I think, impose our own culture on the past and to go, just because we wouldn't go and light a bonfire and do some metalworking in a graveyard, that doesn't mean that it wasn't normal.
Yeah, completely.
Back in the first millennium.
Sites of this period are few and far between. It's really helping us to understand this really important but poorly understood period.
Yeah. There's some very obvious history here at Fonmon, but what's really fascinating is that archaeology under the ground that's lain hidden for so many centuries. And it's so intact and so complete that we can start to see real similarities with other places, with West Wales, with Ireland. And so it's already telling us something important about this community and its connections and the identity of the people who lived and died here.
Could we retrace our steps, perhaps? Wind back our minds and can you remember what it felt like in the beginning
Much of the archaeology we get to explore in Digging for Britain is born of big commercial developments or university research projects. But anyone can volunteer to take part in an archaeological dig, and in our ancient landscape, history can be found everywhere, even in your own backyard. Our next dig takes place in South Gloucestershire, 7 miles east of Bristol, in the small village of Syston. Here, a remarkable community dig is underway, led by Zilla and David Savage. After retiring, David completed a degree in archaeology and then discovered traces of a building hidden in the couple's field.
We have the remains of a foundation wall.
Nobody is absolutely sure what it could be.
These remains date to the medieval period. It all started when David discovered that his very own field was a registered site of archaeological interest.
David came home and said, let's do some digging. And it grew from there.
It was like opening the floodgates. We had so many artefacts coming up.
For the last 20 years, I've been riding my horses around here, not knowing that just below the surface was all this archaeology.
David and Zilla's archaeological adventures soon caught the attention of their neighbours.
Most of us are complete amateurs, but it's so infectious.
It's the feeling you get, isn't it, when you take something out, and I'm the first person to hold that
for a very long time.
Hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And together, they have catalogued an astounding 10,000 small finds.
What do you think
It's a whetstone.
Whetstone? Wow.
Yeah.
We have found what I think is the pottery foot of a pipkin, a medieval pot used for cooking.
The alkaline soil means that metal finds have been particularly well preserved.
Oh, blimey, look at that.
The front of the horseshoe is round there.
So we found one definite buckle, a small brooch, and the lead cane. That's quite exciting because that is high status stuff.
The responsibility of it now is enormous because now we started, we can't stop. We've got to see what's here and then protect it for the future.
The biggest question really is whether it's the beginnings of a very small church, a high-status manor, or just a farmstead.
To help answer this question, I've asked Digging for Britain's medieval expert and David's old archaeology tutor, Stuart Prior, to visit the site.
Good to see you, mate.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
What have we got going on here?
So we have this well-defined enclosure that you can see on the geophys.
Oh, wow, yeah, absolutely. So
Sure.
that huge circular enclosure there. And then this is your building, or series of buildings in the middle here.
Yeah.
Often a circular feature enclosing a small number of medieval buildings points to evidence of ecclesiastical use. So what we're looking at then are stone foundations for presumably a timber building.
A stub wall about 3 foot high.
And then this amazing feature here, which looks to be some sort of, I mean, larder? You know, where you're storing your cheeses and your cold meats and that sort of thing.
Potentially, yeah.
But is there a building associated with this thing?
Well, there has to be somewhere.
OK.
We found a hearth.
Yeah.
We found small shards of metal. We've got fragments of horseshoe, evidence of blacksmithing.
Can I see some of the finds?
Of course you can, yeah.
Perfect. Zilla has gathered some of the best finds to show me. So, Zilla, I see a table full of finds before me.
Can I ask your opinion on this? It's a beautiful piece of copper alloy.
That, to me, looks like it was wrapped around something like silk or to weigh down the end of a scarf.
And then I have this tiny, beautiful copper alloy strap end.
Looks like a snake's head or a dragon's head.
The decorative end to a belt.
So in terms of class, you're seeing everything from high to middle ranking group of people being here. I can see a couple of pieces of iron.
Let me show you our best find ever.
Wow, spurs.
2 spurs.
Prick spurs.
Yep.
So late Saxon, early Norman.
Yep.
Yeah, beautiful. They're the best preserved ones I've seen ever.
Then, on my birthday, David gave me...
What, you found it on your birthday?
Yeah, a beautiful little arrowhead.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's so well preserved as well. All of this isn't necessarily screaming monastic.
No.
It's screaming more towards the farmstead end of it.
Yep.
This site starts probably as an early monastic site, you know? You've got that beautiful earthwork bank surrounding the site. But then, at some point, it turns into a settlement of some description, a small settlement, you know? But it's an amazing site. You've got some really, really lovely finds. And actually, the fact that the mutterwork is so well preserved is really useful.
We know we've got at least another 10 years' work to do here.
A forge attached to a farmstead would most likely have been positioned on the outskirts of a settlement. It would have been used by the whole village as well as passers-by. I've decided to take Zilla's arrowhead to local arrowsmith Hector Cole to find out how it would have been made and what it might have been used for. Hector, I've got a beautiful arrowhead from Syston. Hector has been forging arrowheads for over 30 years.
That's a lovely little head, that.
But yeah, the metalwork coming off that site is amazing. I've asked Hector to make an arrowhead that matches the one from Glebe Field, using medieval techniques.
I'm starting with a piece of square section bar, because that's what they would have forged the iron down to, and then they would work from that.
First, Hector flattens one end of the bar. Then he shapes this end into a tubular socket. Is all of this already recorded in books?
There was none of this in a book anywhere.
With the iron suitably malleable, Hector skillfully hammers out the blade. You make it look so easy, Hector. It's amazing. The edges can now be sharpened using a grinding wheel. So this is exactly the sort of grindstone they'd have used in the medieval period.
Was possibly a bigger one than this, and the faster you turn it, the better it is.
Can understand why electric tools were invented.
Absolutely.
And the final phase is back in the forge, right?
Yeah, to get the point hardened as hard as we can get it, so that it will be effective when it shoots. There we are, and straight in the water. And it's done. There's the finish.
Ready for your longbow.
Yep.
That is such a beautiful and delicate point.
At 50 yards, that was deadly.
Yes, absolutely. Hector has a huge collection of medieval arrowheads, showing how they've evolved from multi-purpose to highly specific designs.
These are the Saxon early medieval ones, where they were used for either hunting or war.
Yep.
And then we come on to the later warheads, the standard bodkin, war bodkin, for plate armour. It's a diamond section, it cuts better, penetrates better. To this one.
Very nasty looking one.
It is a warhead.
That looks like it's designed to go in and never come out.
Yep. And from the war bodkins, we then go on to the
hunting
heads. The larger it is, the larger the game that you're shooting at.
Right. I take it that ours fits in at this end.
Fit in there.
So the arrow from Syston is in that early medieval range, Anglo-Saxon or early Norman, and it could be used for hunting or it could be used for people. Thank you, Hector. That's amazing.
My pleasure.
We may never know quite what was happening at Syston. You know, there was a blacksmith's forge there. Somebody was making arrowheads either to order or for sale, preparing for war or for hunting, and Hector has made this beautiful 12th century arrowhead, a testament to the people that used to live there.
The landscape of the west of Britain is full of historic spectacles, traces of our ancestors. And it continues to evolve today through natural erosion and human-made change.
Sometimes archaeologists can set out with a very clear idea of what it is they're trying to investigate and even hoping to find. At other times, they can be taken completely by surprise, and that's exactly what happened in our next dig.
This dig is taking place on the edge of the Cotswolds, 5 miles south of Cheltenham. Here, a road development project is underway, and after trial trenching revealed Iron Age activity, excavation began in earnest.
We've stripped a huge amount in this area. It's about 5 hectares. As an archaeologist, it's the kind of archaeology and the kind of landscape that really makes you get up in the morning.
And they've found something that is baffling them.
It's called a banjo enclosure because it looks like a banjo. It has a long entrance which looks like the neck of a banjo, and then a kind of round enclosure which is the body of the banjo. Every day we're evolving a new picture of what this might be.
This enigmatic banjo-shaped enclosure dates to the Iron Age. Archaeologist Jim Kite from National Highways is leading the dig.
Now, all we see is the ditch. There would have been a bank next to that of all the material that came out of it. So the overall impression would be something that is cut off from the outside world, and something, whatever is happening inside, is actually kind of special, potentially. We thought this could have been an agricultural enclosure. It could have been some kind of settlement, or it could have been, you know, what we would class as ritual, a place people come to undertake the things that aren't necessarily part of their day-to-day existence.
The Banjo Enclosure isn't the only Iron Age feature in this landscape. 200 metres away, there's a small settlement, and just to the west of the site, Crickley Hill is home to an Iron Age hill fort.
We know what those things are. They're places where people worked and lived and carried out their daily lives. This is sandwiched between them. It's on a slope, and it kind of sits between them, both physically and probably metaphysically for them.
The first clue as to what this site might have been used for was discovered in the western boundary ditch. The skull of a cow. Project Officer Kinga has the cleaned skull.
We only found the skull of a cow. We didn't find any other parts. So we're thinking the cow didn't die here, it was butchered somewhere else, and the skull, being a waste, was chucked into this ditch. So this presence of the skull in this ditch might tell us that there was possibly a feast going on in the area of this Banjo Enclosure.
Inside the enclosure, the team find further evidence of cooking and feasting, as their dig diary shows.
We're inside the enclosure ditch, and we've got a sort of large blob terrace, we think, where they've dug down to bedrock and created a level surface as a working area.
Archaeologist James has some finds from this terraced area.
We've got some large bases off of plates or big clay vessels.
It was designed to be hard-wearing. It's probably a storage jar, maybe, or something like that.
We've got a really nice detailed piece here. It's an Iron Age rim sherd with incised details cut into it. We've also got possibly a hook that come out of one of the lower fills as well.
I don't think I've ever actually seen an Iron Age hook before. You know, maybe attached to you, it will be on a post or something like that, maybe for just, you know, attaching some kind of implement.
We've also had quite a bit of bone come out of it, but none of it's burnt.
The meat that they would have been cooking had been stripped off of it before cooking. These finds are the sort of things that you'd be expecting to find in a domestic settings, but we're getting nothing around it which suggests that people lived here. So these things, again, have been brought in and used here and deposited here for a reason, and we don't know what that reason is yet.
We've been jumping back and forth on ideas of what it actually is for weeks now.
After digging at the site for 2 weeks, the team make a major discovery right at the heart of the enclosure, providing key evidence that this site was ceremonial in nature. Archaeologist William filmed the discovery.
So here we've excavated this pit, and at the bottom we've found a crouched burial of this skeleton. As you can see, he's sort of buried with his knees up towards that area, and you've got his feet sort of sticking up and then his arms crossed over the chest. And we're just carefully working around it to expose it, and so we can record it and then finally lift it up.
I've asked Jim and osteoarchaeologist Sharon Kloff to bring this skeleton to the Digging for Britain tent for a closer look.
Jim and Sharon, thank you very much for bringing this skeleton, which I'd love to have a look at in a bit, but tell me about the site itself. What do we know about it?
OK, so this individual was found right in the centre of the enclosure in this spot here.
Right in the middle?
Yeah, and so when you would have walked up the valley, up here, into here, it would have been the first thing you would have seen. It's such an unusual thing to find. It's so obviously the focus of what's going on.
Sharon, what do you think is going on with this burial? Who are we looking at?
Before you even look at the skeleton, you know this is probably a very special, significant person. It was immediately obvious that they aren't actually quite a fully adult person.
Yeah.
You can see here on the skeleton that some of the bones haven't been fully fused yet. It's because we know they fuse at a set rate at different ages. So
that's partially fused at the top of the humerus.
Yep.
The inferior angle of the scapula is nearly fused. I noticed that the sacrum
hasn't
fused yet.
Here. So I think this person was about 17 to 20 years old when they died.
It's an unusual age to die because mortality is concentrated in the early years and then in older years.
And they're dying, in the prime of their life, just before they're about to become, a fully adult person.
And then sex, biological sex?
So we're looking at sort of mixed features in the skull area.
What about the pelvis?
The sciatic notch is usually quite narrow in males and much wider in females. And here it's sort of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you've got, as you hold it up, you can look at the angle here and then the pubis symphyses there. So I think this individual's male.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's not as male as you would normally sort of expect someone to appear.
Yeah.
And I think it's due to the age that they're at. Yeah. So the only thing that I did notice is there's a slight difference here on the upper leg and the femur. So on the left side here, this is a nice straight femur, but on this side, if you have a look, there's a slight turn here on the femoral head.
It's quite obvious looking at this bone how different it is from the other side, and then you wonder actually how different his gait was and whether people would have been aware of that difference or not.
I think it would have been noticeable, but not so much maybe that they needed a stick or anything to help them along.
Yeah, it's curious, isn't it? So we don't know the cause of death, as you said. There's something special about him. We don't know what that specialness is. It could be positive or negative, of course. But what we can say at the moment is it's an isolated burial in a special place, and he's unusually young.
Yes, that's right.
As archaeologists, we desperately want to interpret this. We desperately want to give meaning to it. It's a really unusual site, and it's really exciting to be part of that because it really adds to our knowledge of what's going on in the Iron Age.
When the team began this dig, they expected to find evidence of Iron Age life. But with the discovery of this mysterious Banjo Enclosure, which now appears to have held ceremonial significance, it's a reminder that with each archaeological discovery, we are evolving our understanding of the past, but finding even greater mysteries to solve. Next time on Digging for Britain, I'm exploring the best digs in the East. Henry VIII's lost palace is uncovered.
We have been looking for this for about 3 years, yes, so we're very pleased to see this.
We explore the mystery of the Battle of Waterloo's disappearing dead.
It's not just a rumour, then?
No, it's not.
And I'm lost for words at the strangest Roman object I've ever seen.
And this is just extraordinary. Look at that.